All right, welcome back to episode 2, week 2, Atlanta, or by the end of it, could be called Hotlanta, as a few drivers were very upset with Carson Hocevar. Quick race recap here. I thought the race was pretty good after stage 1. Stage 1 was boring. Once again, it's one of the things I don't understand. I know trucks do it a lot, and Xfinity usually has at least one stage, but stage 1 was 60 laps. The fuel window was 65 to 70. That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry, why? At least put them right past the fuel window. So make it 75. That way, if there is a caution, it's like, hey, save fuel, or if there's no caution, it's like, all right, well, we got a green flag pit stops. What's wrong with that? But to me, running, and they were telling, I don't remember the driver. I think it was HMS drivers. I didn't write it down. But they're like, go hard, go all the way, race hard, race hard. You don't have to worry about fuel. You're good on fuel. Race hard. Shouldn't we be racing hard all the time? But that's neither here nor there. So you get rid of the first stage, or get out of the first stage. Second stage, started having more natural cautions. Gilliland had a tire go down. Ty Dillon had a tire go down, which I don't understand how people don't understand the new DVP policy. It's pretty straightforward to me. And you have Busch last week who didn't understand it. He says NASCAR doesn't know their own rules when he doesn't know the rules. This week you got Ty Dillon. Bless his heart, he's trying to just get going, and he can't do it because he got 2 right side flats. But he's like, don't hook me up, push me. Well, if you cannot make it back under your own power, you have to get towed. They don't push you. You have to get towed to the garage / work area. It's not that hard to understand. If you have to get towed, you go to the garage. Then you have 3 laps, 1 attempt. Not what Busch said of 3 attempts. And then you're done if you don't make it. You can't just go out there like he did and then come back in. You have to make it minimum speed in 3 laps. Which means you got to time it to where you go out there pretty much after the choose. Because I would assume that wouldn't count as a lap, and then you'd be coming in off of 4, just guns a-blazing, as they're taking the green. That's what I would do if that could be allowed, if that's how you can do it. But anyway, so start having natural cautions, nothing major, no big ones. You had cars, you had Stenhouse come down on Briscoe, he came up and hit Elliott, which broke the toe link in Elliott, and then Keselowski came barreling in there, which wasn't Brad's fault. He said he lost oil pressure, so they were done, which I think they're done whether he lost oil pressure or not. You had Hurst spin himself, which was whatever. Lap 142 was the first Chevy-led lap under green. BJ McLeod led a lap, but it's because he stayed out under caution. I mean, it does count. It goes in the records book. He led a lap, but as far as under green flag, it took 140, I guess theoretically it'd be 141 laps before Chevy ever led a race, or led a lap. Because once again, Ford's dominated, just like last week at Daytona. But somehow, they all get taken out. Not even their fault. So 27 to go. Old Crashavore, aka Carson Hocevar, decides he needs to bump Blaney going into 1. And he didn't just bump Blaney going into 1, he hit him off center, which probably would have spun him going down straightaway or through the triover or wherever. Like, no matter what, Blaney was probably not hanging on to the car. So Blaney gets on the radio. He's like, he's a moron. So that was 27 to go. In the third stage, we're trucking along. All of a sudden, 6 to go. Blaney's 4th. So some people said you can't move in these cars. I think it was Tommy Baldwin, or it's Freddie. I think it was Tommy Baldwin. Said once you're in the pack, you can't move. Well, Blaney had to come from the tail end of the lead lap cars, and he got fourth. I don't know. I didn't write down where he was at, but he did a pretty good job by carving through the field. Granted, yes, he did have fresh tires, so it's a little bit different. And then you got the old controversial Larson and Cindric incident, which I haven't scoured the interwebs. I can find one if it's there, and there's probably one. Larson didn't hit, and I'm a Cindric fan. I was wanting Cindric to win so I could get that car from Lionel Racing and add it to my collection, but it wasn't meant to be in the cards. Same thing happened between Larson and Denny 2 years ago at Pocono, and everyone lost their mind at Denny. But now that Larson does it, it's like, oh well, it's okay. He didn't hit him. He just put him in a bad spot. Yeah, that's what you kind of have to do with these cars. So it is what it is. To me, Larson was doing what he had to do. He didn't physically put him in the wall, but which is hard to tell. I have to go back from replays I saw. I could not see if Cindric lifted, yeah, or not. Because I've heard he lifted, and then that's when he got tight and went in the wall, which could be as well. But who knows? He knows. SMT probably will show if he lifted or not, but I don't have access to that. So either way, did Larson put him into the wall? No. He put him in a bad spot, but that's racing these days with these cars. Let's see. So afterwards, Hocevar apologizes to Rick Hendrick for pushing a Toyota to the win. Like, I thought after Martinsville we got done with this whole race manipulation, because to me that's race manipulation. Why am I saying manipulation? Manipulation. Because instead of pushing one car to help yourself, if he would have known the yellow was going to come out, he would have dropped down. Which I don't even know if he could. I don't even know if there was room. Or he just simply doesn't push Bell. And then Larson wins. It was just like last year when Keselowski won. Did he kill? Yeah. Or maybe it was Buescher. No, Buescher didn't make the playoffs. Had to be Keselowski. Or no, Tyler. I don't know. Either way, there was a race last year that I know that Keselowski, there was a HMS driver behind him, and it was do not push up forward to the win. To me, that's taking away the 100%. You got to go 100% rule. Anyway, we're getting off in the weeds here. So I just didn't like that, nor understood that. Like, do what's for you. Like Parker Retzloff did that last year. Actually, didn't catch a lot of slack from it from outside. It's like, hey, this was his only time to possibly win a race in a cup car. He had to take it. And I agree. I mean, because here's the thing. If Hocevar pushes Larson to the win, and let's say he does finish second, like which he did finish, is anyone going to remember that? Like, they talk about this all the time when it comes to pushing people and just being a good teammate. Like, when your contract's up, no one's going to be like, well, you're pretty good at finishing second or third. You follow orders. Like, no, they're going to look and be like, well, the results aren't there. But anyway, getting into the weeds. There's 15 different leaders, and they kept talking about lead changes and lead changes. I don't know when they switched it. I'm not a statistician, but it used to be lead changes only counted at the line, which would mean there's only 15 lead changes, and I think it was a record of 50 lead changes, which that's whatever. The controversial yellow, the race that could have been. So apparently, allegedly, and apparently it did happen, so I guess it's not really allegedly, Elton Sawyer in the drivers meeting said, I want to paraphrase this, we screwed up last night in talking about the Xfinity race. If it comes down to it today, present Sunday, today's not Sunday, but you understand what I'm saying, we will throw the caution. And if you watch Radioactive, when they throw the caution, Carson is like, well, that's crap. Well, they said it in the driver's meeting. If it happens, they're throwing the caution. So what can we do about that? I mean, Gregson pretty much said the same thing Bubba said last weekend, and that was, well, if you wreck under white, rack them, stack them, and go back out there. But where do you draw the line on how many attempts do you get? I mean, do you go back to the 3 attempts, 1 attempt, 2 attempts? To me, you take the white. That's nowadays depending on the track. I mean, theoretically, it'll be at any track, but mainly your drafting and speedway tracks. You take the white. That's pretty much the checker flag because you know you're not making it back 9 out of 10 times. You're going to have a caution. So if you're going to finish the race under caution, then just get rid of overtime. Because generally overtime just keeps breeding more cautions and more overtimes. So like I said, you're finishing under caution, go back to the old ways, decades ago, and just, hey, lap 260, whatever flag is out is what we're getting. If we're under caution, or I guess maybe one thing you do, but then that'd be the same thing. Never mind. Never mind. That doesn't make sense. I was going to say, with say 5 to go, you don't count caution laps, but then you're just going to end up in the same scenario of basically over. Yeah, we'll scratch that idea. So I don't think I talked about this yet. I talked about it last weekend at Daytona, and I'm sure some of you are going to be like, I don't know why you care about that so much. And I realized after last week's video. So last week I said it was, 35-40 minutes after the start time, aired advertised start time before we went green. This week it was 20 minutes, which wasn't too terribly bad. But my thing is, we have race day. Race day, an hour show before the start time of the race that can cover all the storylines, all the strategies. That is what that show should be for. And then I realized it was NBC. NBC, if the start time was 2 o'clock, that's when we were taking the green by 2:05. 2:10 at the latest. It was pretty much bang bang. Hey, we said it starts at 2, we're starting at 2. And this is where I have a gripe with it, because we wasted 20 minutes after the original airtime. And we talk about, we know how TV controls everything. So we wasted 20 minutes, and the broadcast never gave a rundown of the, not even the top 10, top 20. There's this, you had the pylon, or yeah, we call it pylon, the scoring thing on the side, and that was a flash in the pan, and then that was gone. They only interviewed, I have top 3, but Blaney wasn't top 3. He was 4. So they got the top 4 drivers. So we don't know what Busch was upset about. They didn't interview Busch. And how about McDowell? Why couldn't we get an interview with McDowell? I didn't know that was going on. I heard about that after the fact. But the man goes down 6 laps because of power steering issues, comes back and finishes 13th. Like, where was that storyline all day? Like, let's get his interview. But back to the 20 minutes, they could only interview them real quickly because it was getting to the end of the hour, so they had to hurry up and end the race so they could start the new show. So you take that 20 minutes that was wasted, now we can get interviews. I want to hear post-race. I don't know what people thought. What was going on in your head when this happened? What was the strategy? Well, you had this strategy, but then you guys had to go, like, I want to hear that. I don't care about what happened last week and this and this and that. Like, you get an hour of race day. And I'm going on way too long about this, but come on. And also, people are complaining about commercials. Commercials is what makes TV work. It pays the bills, and they're side by side. I mean, yes, it is somewhat weird because you're trying to watch a race, and then you got this other, you're watching something and the audio is not lining up. It's almost as bad, if not worse. I don't know if it's as bad. It's when you're watching somebody talk and the words aren't lining up with their lips. And yeah, first stage it was fine. Nothing happened at first stage. Second and third stage, it seemed like every time they went to commercial, there was a caution, and it's like, Well, can we at least go back to the race? If you saw what happened, or didn't see what happened, just let's go to the race now. And they're side by side. The only full screen cautions were at stage breaks, or full screen commercials at stage breaks and under caution, so you weren't missing anything. And I'm going to go back to wasting laps. There was an average of 8 laps at the stage end, so 16 laps. Freddie Kraft preaches, well, we should race the distance, race the distance. Well, when you have mandatory, basically end of quarters, end of a period, that you're losing 8 laps at 16 laps. So we didn't get 16 laps of racing, and they weren't natural cautions. They're pre-made cautions, which the laps shouldn't count. That's just my opinion, which I am entitled to. And also, it's 53 degrees, and I'm pretty sure this time of year is about the same time it would be temperature-wise in the first week of November. So the racing wasn't too bad. Could we open this up to the possibility of a playoff race? They said they're changing it in 26. And you got poor Briscoe. He is 98 points out of the playoffs. It's pretty much in a has-to-win situation, which I'm going to bring us back here to last season, how we had Briscoe, who was, I think he was 20th or 19th, maybe 21st. He was right there. He was in the top 25 in points. Wins Darlington, gets in the playoffs. He wasn't bad as Harrison Burton, but like I said, right now he's 98 points out of the playoffs. So if he wins a race, he's in the playoffs. He makes up 98 points. How do we feel about that? I mean, it's the rules. That's the game. Everyone knows it going in. If you win, you're in. But if I'm a competitor, I'm like, this dude's 98 points out. How is he automatically in the playoffs? Because, I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I'm not for sure how I feel about that, but I'm really sure I don't like it. It's almost kind of like, it almost is the open exemption provisional rule, kind of. A little different, because you did earn it, because you won, but at the same time, it's like, do you really belong here? Let's talk about the top 16 real quick. So we got Blaney, Byron, Reddick, Cindric, Bubba, Larson, John Hunter, Stenhouse, Bowman, Elliott, Logano, Seabell, Hamlin, McDowell, Krashevar, aka Hocevar, and Buescher. Obviously, we know Byron and Seabell are going to be there. Sure, Blaney's there, Reddick. Cindric could get a win. We still have Talladega, and he's proved that he's good at drafting tracks. And I think Atlanta is not in the playoffs this year, so he comes back to Atlanta, but it's going to be, I think that's June or July. So it's going to be a completely different Atlanta. It's not going to be 53 degrees. It's probably going to be 93 degrees. Bubba, it depends on the winners. I mean, last year, he ended the regular season 12th in points. He had 4 playoff people behind him, but he didn't win, so he didn't make the playoffs. I say he has a shot at making the playoffs. Larson, obviously, he's going to win. That's about as certain as paying taxes. John Hunter, he's probably not going to stay in the top 16. Stenhouse has a chance. We still have Talladega. Bowman, probably. Elliott, yes. Logano, yes. Hamlin, yes. McDowell, slim chance McDowell stays in 16 and makes playoffs. But it's possibly. Carson, I don't think so. I mean, there are some drafting tracks, and he proved he was good today at Atlanta. But like I said, Atlanta in June, July is going to be completely different. Buescher easily has a shot. I wouldn't write him off just yet. I mean, Penske led 186 laps at Atlanta. They dominated. They pretty much dominated Daytona. And they have nothing to show for it besides a 4th place finish from Blaney at Atlanta. So NASCAR and their inconsistency. So we had the duel. The second duel. I mean, it was literally a stone's throw away. And they throw the caution and set them to race it out. We go to the 500. They're wrecking in the backstretch. They let them race it out. Xfinity race. They were wrecking going into 3. Or maybe it was on the backstretch. Going into 3. Let them race it out. And I know they said in the driver's meeting, we're not going to do it. But us fans, not everyone knows that. Some of them still might not know that they said that in the driver's meeting. But consistency. So you said you're not going to let it happen anymore. So okay, you threw the yellow. That was the right thing to do. But the fact that Fox, I meant to go back and double check this, and I know it was there. I'm not making it up. It was not a replay. It was live. They had a little thing, a caution light, camera on the caution light in the feed, because they knew it was like, okay, well, when the caution comes out, the race is over. Like that should not be a thing, in my opinion. Like I said, what do you do about this? Do you just finish under yellow? Get rid of overtimes? Keep the overtime? White flag, next flag ends it? There's so many takes on this that we talk about this for days on days. Old fans, yes, they're going to want 260 laps. The yellow comes out with 2 to go, then the race is over. I personally don't like that because it does take the excitement out. I don't want to say wasted 3.5 to 4 hours, and that's the finish you get. It's like watching a ball game that is a barn burner, baseball game. It's a barn burner in the 9th inning, and it starts storming and raining, and they call the game. And the team wins by run. And it's like, well, that was exciting, and then it was dumb. Like, they didn't get to finish. And I think that's all we have for this week. We got COTA next week. Oh, that's another thing. So if you want to watch qualifying on Saturday, you need Amazon Prime. And then we got race day, which is what I talked about. All the pre-race stuff should be talked about on race day. That's at 2:30 Central, 2:30, 1:30 Central, and then the race is at 3:30, 2:30 Central. I gotta check the course layout. I know they shortened it by a mile. I think the S's are still in there. I know some people said they got rid of 2 passing opportunities, but we'll have to see. Hopefully it is a better product, because COTA's got to be the most boring race we've had in past couple seasons. It's just so long. They get strung out. Everyone just dives bombs in turn 1. Anyway, so yeah, let's wrap this up. And until next week, take care.